All right, you and I are diving into one of the darkest revenge stories ever, Vengeance of the Wounded Saint. Trust me, this one has everything. We are talking heart-pounding romance, brutal betrayals, and a revenge plot that hits deep. From dark sorcery to noble backstabbing, it is a wild ride. I really hope you enjoy this journey as much as I did. If you are ready for some drama, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Now, let us jump right into Louisa's nightmare. Our story begins with young Louisa, a humble healer serving within the walls of a grand cathedral. As a lonely orphan, she was granted sanctuary under one condition. She must spend every day healing the sick and injured who visit the temple. She is even a candidate to become the next high saint, competing alongside several other girls with holy gifts. But Louisa's magic is different. Most healers just close a wound, but her power comes with a terrifying price. To heal another person, she has to physically transfer their injuries onto her own body before healing herself. This unique power makes the other saint candidates look down on her, calling her a freak and claiming she is unworthy. After saving a child injured during a monster raid, Louisa happens to overhear the other girls talking behind her back. Just as she is feeling low, her supposed best friend, Countess Arian, arrives with a bright and cheerful smile. She praises Louisa's hard work, pulling her into a hug and telling her to ignore the nasty rumors the others spread. She even promises to stay by Louisa's side forever, no matter what happens. Now pay attention here, because everything is not what it seems. Just then, Louisa's lifelong crush, Sir Garrett, appears. Their history goes way back to when Louisa was a mere child, just beginning to master her strange healing arts. Back then, he had come to the cathedral with a bloodied hand, gently asking the nervous young girl to help him. Though she struggled at first, his kind words gave her the strength to complete her very first heal. Years passed, and Garrett rose to become the commander of the Knights. Arian knew all about Louisa's secret feelings. She acted like a supportive friend, but everything changed when Garrett was carried in with life-threatening injuries. Mauled by a demonic beast, the priests gave up hope. It seemed like the great commander was finally done for. Refusing to let him die, Louisa waits until he is alone to perform her most dangerous transfer yet. The damage is too much. She survives but falls into a coma, only waking up an entire month later. A maid is there, but she is cruel, telling Louisa she wished the girl had just died in her sleep. Everyone believed she was just being lazy. Terrified, Louisa ignores the insults and asks if Garrett is still alive. You and I saw her do the work, but the maid claims Arian is the hero who saved him. Louisa's world shatters when she learns that Arian and Garrett are now a couple. Desperate for answers, she runs through the halls, but the whispers she hears along the way are venomous. Horrible rumors are flying. They are saying she is a loose woman who sleeps around with every man in the kingdom. They claim she is trash compared to the pure Arian, and that she does not even deserve a roof over her head. Every priest and knight is singing Arian's praises, calling her the only one fit to be High Saint. Since she allegedly saved the Empire's greatest hero, rumors are swirling that Arian will soon take over as the High Priestess. To make matters worse, people claim these stories are true because they heard them directly from Arian's mouth. Louisa finally confronts Arian and Garrett, begging her supposed friend to explain why she is spreading such filthy lies. Arian immediately plays the victim, clinging to Garrett and acting like she is absolutely terrified of Louisa's presence. Enraged, Garrett slams Louisa to the cold floor, his eyes filled with nothing but pure, unadulterated hatred. He screams that he knows Louisa was just using him, and that she had been physically abusive toward the innocent Arian. Louisa is completely broken, sobbing on the stone floor as she realizes the entire world has turned against her. As Garrett walks away, Arian leans in close, her sweet mask finally slipping to reveal a demon. She whispers that she has been waiting for this moment forever, and that she never actually liked Louisa at all. Left alone in the dirt, Louisa's hair begins to change. A group of men notice her and start mocking her. One jerk grabs her by the hair, but Louisa snaps. She grabs his arm and instantly transfers a wound onto him. So what do you and I think? After this betrayal, Louisa is officially done helping anyone but herself. The cathedral where Louisa lived was built for Lucia, the goddess of health, who saved the realm centuries ago. She ended a great plague in the kingdom of Valerius, and now, every girl born with healing power follows her path. Stick with me, in this kingdom, only noble women born with divine grace can become saint candidates. The holy throne has sat empty for over 10 years because not a single worthy girl has appeared. Ilara only dreamed of the title because her family urged her to seek it before they passed away. While she enjoys tea, a group of noble bullies arrives to mock her, calling her a total failure. They mock her hair and talent, but Ilara ignores them until one snaps. Done with their nonsense, she delivers a biting comeback, even telling the lead girl exactly what she thinks. She points out the girl has terrible breath. She used to think her friend Ariadne was protecting her. Now she sees the truth. Ariadne was the one whispering in their ears to torment her all along. When the harassment continues, Ilara snaps and literally transfers agonizing second-degree burns onto the girl. The crowd is stunned by this unknown magic, but Ilara remembers her mother had this same forbidden gift. Her power allows her to take wounds from others and store them. She quickly heals the girl's skin. She rushes to her room, but runs into the path of Prince Julian. Julian has a wicked reputation, and he stops her, curious about her magic and offering a chance at vengeance. Watch closely here. In the royal gardens, Prince Julian proposes a secret alliance to take down their enemies. Monsters are suddenly swarming the towns, which is bizarre since these beasts usually stay far in the wilderness. Normally, they never venture past the empire's borders, making these coordinated attacks feel very intentional. Julian suspects the high priests are behind this, intentionally luring the monsters toward innocent people to cause chaos. By injuring citizens, the church forces them to beg the saint candidates for healing, boosting their own holy power. This scheme would make the people worship the church more than the crown, paving the way for a coup. With the kingdom in their pocket, the church would rule. Julian reveals he suspects the high priest himself. This rattles Ilara, because when her family died of a mystery plague, the bishop was the one who saved her. He brought her into the temple specifically for her gifts. Ilara is sickened as Julian reveals more of the plot. It is not just the church. 3 noble houses are in on it, led by the ruthless Earl Trevelyan. That is Ariadne's father. Ilara's heart sinks, wondering if her former friend is part of this dark conspiracy. Julian has intel that the high priest made a deal with a savage Highland tribe who can control monsters. These people command the beasts. He asks Ilara to act as his spy within the temple walls. You and I know revenge is tempting, especially when he offers to help her crush Ariadne Trevelyan for good. She needs time. Experience has taught her that trust is earned, so she decides to investigate these claims herself. Before giving him an answer, Ilara heads back but crosses paths with a shadow. It is Bishop Lockhart. His family has controlled the saint selection for generations. They have essentially owned the temple and every saint candidate within its walls since the very beginning. He greets Ilara with a fake smile, saying he is glad she is healed so she can work. This irritates her. She realizes the bishop always worked her harder than any of the other highborn candidates. He never gave her a day off, claiming it was for her own good since her magic was weak. Determined, Ilara sneaks into the royal library to research that mysterious Highland tribe the prince mentioned. She finds a tome stating they use a magical tongue to command beasts and bear scale-like neck tattoos. While she is reading, Julian appears again, this time accompanied by a mysterious man from the west. The prince introduces Silas Thorn, his most loyal advisor, who was recruited for his incredible, unique skills. Though Silas is not a tribesman, he has learned their forbidden tongue from an old traveling merchant. Julian offers to let Silas teach Ilara the language, and she accepts, knowing this is her only chance. As she leaves, the prince whispers to himself, wondering if Ilara really is the goddess he needs. A few days later, Ilara follows Julian's lead and creeps through the temple late at night. Searching for dirt on the bishop, she follows a hooded figure toward the forbidden Tower of Prayer. Entry is banned as the tower is slated for demolition. There, she spots the bishop's right-hand man. He lets in a tattooed tribesman to meet the bishop. "You and I just found the smoking gun. Stick with me, because we are about to watch the Forgotten Lady infiltrate the holy sanctuary tower." She needs to get past the guard, and her magic requires one thing: direct physical contact. Luciana appears before him disguised as a lost servant girl, playing the part perfectly to get a touch. He points her toward the quarters, but she triggers a massive migraine with a touch, knocking him out. After hiding behind crates, she overhears High Priest Lucius congratulating a Shadow Clan member for luring the beasts. They led the monsters straight to a nearby village, and the priest couldn't be happier about the carnage. Luciana is horrified to find Lady Arabella there too, demanding the priest grant her the Holy Saintess title. Lucius tells her to be patient, confirming his support for her upcoming engagement to the noble Sir Gareth. This news breaks Luciana's heart, but then Arabella starts trash-talking her, calling her a total loser. She mocks Luciana for having a crush on Gareth, even telling the priest that her existence is disgusting. The girl asks if they can kill Luciana once she is Saintess, and the priest says it is the plan. Pay attention here, because right as he's about to reveal his true goal, Luciana accidentally makes a noise. Before the shadow boy catches her, Silas appears and releases rats as a distraction, letting them slip away. Safe outside the tower, she meets Lord Sebastian and accepts his offer to team up for some revenge. Luciana wakes up the next morning, remembering the key Sebastian gave her to his secret palace greenhouse. He told her no one else in the palace knew about this sanctuary, and specifically asked her to meet. Determined to stop the priest and destroy Arabella's life, she decides to place her trust in Sebastian. Entering the greenhouse, she finds Sebastian and Silas waiting for her. It's time to start their secret mission. They share tea as he turns on the charm, suggesting that as secret accomplices, they should speak casually. He even offers his greenhouse for her to read in, showing how much he truly pays attention to her. Luciana blushes when she realizes he noticed her love for books back when they first met in the library. Sebastian then hands over a secret file on Viscount Vincent of Rosemont, the infamous man known as a player. Though he has a wife and child, the Viscount is a well-known adulterer who handles the priest's trade. He uses his connections to provide goods for the priest's plan, proving he is a vital piece. Sebastian also suspects him of smuggling the drugged monsters into the kingdom, right under the king's nose. Luciana is absolutely furious. You and I know she is ready for some serious payback after all this. The goal is to steal the Viscount's records, and he needs Luciana to attend the birthday ball. He asks her to be his +1, while elsewhere, Arabella is currently busy trying to drag Sir Gareth. Gareth isn't excited about the party at all, telling her he has zero interest in attending the ball. Arabella is annoyed, but uses those manipulative puppy dog eyes to trick the poor man into saying yes. She wins Gareth over, but then 2 soldiers arrive begging for help with a knight who's been injured. His leg is broken, and Gareth asks Arabella to use her holy powers to heal the man's pain. But lazy Arabella refuses to lift a finger, making up excuses in her head just to avoid the work. He asks for her help, but of course, lazy Arabella refuses, having a long internal debate with herself. She is just tired, so she puts on another fake show with those teary-eyed puppy dog looks. She tells Gareth she'd rather not heal him, because she has been, quote, working really hard, unquote. She even admits to herself she's done nothing, since she used to toss every chore onto poor Luciana. I honestly feel sorry for him, he is so blind. Meanwhile, Luciana is back in her room feeling hopeless. She has nothing to wear to the ball, because her clothes were all destroyed by Arabella's cruel bullies. Even her last beautiful ribbon was stolen by Arabella years ago, who claimed Luciana didn't deserve to look pretty. Arabella told her that flashy things would only bring her trouble, basically keeping all the luxury for herself. Sir Gareth is so foolish. Luciana is in her room looking for a ball gown, but she can't find one. Nothing she owns is suitable, since the bullies destroyed every decent outfit she ever had in her wardrobe. Her only beautiful ribbon was stolen by Arabella long ago, who told her she shouldn't wear flashy things. She said it would attract bullies. Trust me, you and I are going to love her payback. All right, let's dive into the life of Louise, who's currently broke because the high priest refuses her allowance. It's standard for candidates to get church funding, but she's being deliberately cut off by the high priest. That same rude maid who helped her earlier barges in without knocking, dropping a heavy suitcase sent by Silas. She whines about the weight and demands to know why Louise is now trying to seduce Silas too. Louise is reaching her limit. She wants to use her powers right there, but she has to keep the secret hidden. She holds back her magic. After all, her alliance with Prince Alistair must remain a complete mystery for now. She confronts her instead, warning the girl that her insults disrespect both Louise and the prince's most trusted knight. The maid tries to make excuses, but Louise cuts her off with a freezing glare that silences the girl completely. She reminds the maid of their vast difference in status and warns her to be very careful with her words. The maid finally bows and scurries off. Good for her for standing her ground. Relieved, Louise opens the box to find a stunning gown along with exquisite shoes and a shimmering necklace. Alistair's letter mentions he commissioned the best tailor in the kingdom and even handpicked every single accessory for her. How charming. He even filed for her vacation, realizing the high priest has been overworking her without any rest. He really is a true prince. Naturally, our girl can't help but blush at such a thoughtful gesture. She needs earrings to finish the look and remembers a precious memento left behind by her late mother. It is a keepsake from her youth. She lost its twin years ago while using her healing magic on a stranger. Pay attention here, because this was the first time she ever used her powers on someone outside her family. Shortly after that, she returned home to find her entire family dead from a supposed plague. Talk about suspicious. The night of the ball arrives, and Louise is escorted by a carriage under Silas's protection. Alistair couldn't pick her up personally, since royal protocol requires him to be at the venue much earlier. Once she reaches the venue, a dazzling, dressed-up Alistair is there to welcome her to the party. She is completely caught off guard by his majestic appearance. He looks like a true king. He compliments her immediately, saying he chose those specific colors just to make her striking white hair stand out. This makes her self-conscious, as she has endured years of cruel bullying over the unique color of her hair. She tells him to stop the flattery, insisting that her hair is actually quite strange and unattractive. He leans in close, takes her braid in his hand and kisses it, saying she should be proud of its beauty. Seriously, can someone marry this man already? Louise starts to tear up, but Alistair makes her laugh by joking that her hair matches his and Silas's perfectly. Silas looks a bit uncomfortable while they share a magical moment before finally entering the grand ballroom together. Inside, Alistair warns her that the Viscount is clever, but has a well-known weakness for beautiful women. They decide to bide their time, waiting for the perfect opportunity for Louise to approach their target. Alistair is completely swamped by nobles wanting his attention, so let's watch closely as Louise decides to scout the room alone. She notices a maid who seems incredibly anxious. Just as she goes to help, trouble finds her instead. She is suddenly intercepted by Lady Ariana and Lord Garrett, the two people she wanted to avoid most. Ariana starts throwing shade immediately. They haven't spoken since Louise saw her true, ugly personality in the garden. Nor has she seen Garrett, whom she absolutely despises for the way he once treated her so cruelly. Ariana mockingly asks if she came to the ball alone, turning to an uncomfortable Garrett for backup. Louise calmly explains that she was officially invited and definitely has a partner for the evening. Ariana scoffs at her white hair, laughing and telling her she looks like a withered old hag. Louise nearly loses it, but she remembers Alistair's kind words and decides to keep her composure. She coolly replies that she actually prefers this look, standing her ground against the high society bully. Garrett tries to lead Ariana away, oblivious to her cruelty. Seriously, how is he this blind to her behavior? Ariana refuses to leave, wanting to see this supposed partner while she starts mocking Louise's expensive dress. She reaches out to grab Louise's precious earring, but right then, Prince Alistair makes his grand entrance. He hugs Louise. "Trust me, you and I are going to love what's next." "All right, stick with me because you are about to see how Prince Alistair handles some serious drama when Arya insults Alara." He explains they are together because she helped with his local orphanages, and this invitation was his simple way of showing his gratitude. The nobles seem to buy the story, especially since they remember Alara's father was a baron who met a tragic end. Everyone starts sympathizing with the poor girl's loss. It is clear that Alistair really knows how to manipulate a crowd when he needs to. Even Arya is convinced, deciding to head off and dance with Lord Cedric instead. Honestly, she is better off just walking away now. But as she leaves, Alistair pulls Cedric aside to tell him he has terrible taste and is far too gullible for his own good. Well, someone had to say it. Cedric is stunned as Alistair whisks Alara away from the toxic scene. They leave a fuming Arya behind as the rest of the guests begin to fill the dance floor. Alistair asks Alara to dance, but she freezes up, admitting she is not exactly the most graceful person in the room. However, after Alistair gives her a playful and pouty look, she agrees to join him on the floor if a song she knows begins. Now, keep your eyes on the screen, because you and I are about to witness a sudden turn of events. They spot a nervous maid clutching a dagger, marching straight toward the high-ranking count while whispering to herself. She looks unhinged but terrified, repeating that she must kill the man even if it means losing her own life in the process. Thankfully, Alistair intercepts her smoothly before anyone in the room notices something is wrong. He quietly takes the weapon and calms her down, leading the group outside so they can speak without being overheard. Through her tears, she confesses that she truly intended to kill the Count for the unforgivable things he did to her. I will not go into the dark details, but you can definitely guess what kind of monster this nobleman really is. She explains she was a maid there, who planned to leave and open a small bakery with her childhood sweetheart. But when she gave her notice, the cruel Count summoned her to his private chambers and took advantage of her by force, completely shattering her future. After she told her fiancé, he confronted the Count, which only brought more misery as the nobleman ruined their business dreams. Now they are stuck, unable to move on because of the Count's petty and malicious interference in their lives. Alara is absolutely furious, and together with Alistair, they promise to help the woman get her revenge and open their bakery without any more interference. They vow to protect her from the Count and secure her future. Back in the ballroom, Alistair is surprised that Alara is willing to take on the burden of helping this poor maid. I know what you are thinking. Can Alara really handle 2 missions at once? Let us find out together. She insists that she can handle her own plans, while also ensuring this woman finds justice for what she suffered. Suddenly, Alara realizes the orchestra is playing the one song she actually knows how to dance to perfectly. Without hesitation, Alistair takes her hand and leads her to the center of the floor, surprising everyone in the room. The crowd is mesmerized, whispering that they look far more elegant than Cedric and Arya. This obviously makes Arya lose her mind with rage, as she watches the two of them steal the entire spotlight. When Cedric asks what is wrong, she snaps and calls them both annoying pests. Honestly, how clueless can that man be? Arya is truly the worst. Meanwhile, Alistair notices something familiar about Alara's earring. It is the one her mother left her, and it turns out he is wearing the exact matching pair himself. He smiles, realizing she is the long-lost girl he has been searching for since they were both children. Apparently, Alistair used to sneak out of the royal palace in disguise to walk around the capital and learn about the lives of his people. One night, he was badly injured while protecting a young woman from a group of men in a dark alley. He hid there, unable to return to the palace while wounded because it would reveal his secret identity to everyone. That was when a young 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 found him. It turns out he was the first person she ever healed. She offered to mend his wounds even though it drained her. Alistair was shocked because he never felt truly loved. People always called him the Cursed Prince because his mother nearly died during childbirth, leaving him with a heavy and terrible reputation within the kingdom. She had been saved by the saints, but Alistair grew up under a heavy cloud of stigma and isolation his whole life. 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 was the first person to show him genuine kindness, but she disappeared before he could even ask for her name. He has been completely captivated by her ever since, spending years trying to track down the mysterious girl who saved him. He feels guilty for finding her so late, but he is determined to make up for all the pain she suffered. So you and I just saw a fated reunion. Trust me, Alistair is never going to let her go again. All right, you and I are about to see him become her sword and shield. After their dance, the Viscount stalks her. He calls Lua as elegant as a lily, but those crazed eyes are leering at her like a predator. She realizes that the best way to get those documents is through seduction. Since she no longer cares about the rumors, she goes for it. Lua doesn't care about the gossip anymore. As she lures him in, the Viscount gets dangerously close and invades her space. He even grabs her chin, but Sven intervenes with perfect grace, claiming she is his partner for the evening. However, Lua stays in character and successfully charms the creep, landing an invitation to his private chambers. Once the next song ends, the Viscount leaves to mingle, completely unaware he just walked into a trap. Sven tries his best to maintain a polite smile, but his expression honestly looks terrifying right now. Watch closely now. He takes her hand and starts wiping it vigorously like he's erasing a stain. He wants to scrub away the touch of that filthy man. Then, he asks where she learned to flirt like that. She simply says she imitated the women surrounding the Viscount. Plus, she reminds him that she needs physical contact to use her special abilities. She reminds Sven that touching the target is the only way her powers will actually work on him tonight. Sven agrees, but insists on preparing everything first. He tells her to call out if anything goes wrong. Lua enters the chambers where the Viscount is already waiting, sipping wine and looking far too comfortable. In the blink of an eye, he snaps, pinning her down on the bed while demanding to know her true motive for being there. Lua is completely caught off guard. She panics, thinking he might have actually figured out their secret plan. Outside the estate, Sir Julian is patrolling the grounds, ready to alert the team if things turn south. While scouting, he spots Lady Adrian meeting a mysterious hooded figure. It definitely isn't her usual contact. He doesn't recognize the man, but it's not Garrett. They are meeting at a warehouse, and Julian suspects something truly dark is inside. He suspects they have a demonic beast trapped within those walls. This just got way more dangerous. He loses sight of them, but rushes to find Sven and Lua to warn them about this discovery. Meanwhile, the Viscount grills Lua. He guesses she's after money or status, which is a massive relief. He clearly has no clue about the real plan. He squeezes her wrists harder, demanding an honest answer. She plays her rebel Saintess card, telling him she just wants a thrill because her life is too boring. He laughs, instantly buying the lie. You and I both know he's falling for it completely. He mentions Charlotte, admitting he likes when partners resist, but wants someone willing for a change. What an absolute scumbag. I don't even want to think about how many other innocent women he has hurt before this moment. This enrages Lua, and she decides to show zero mercy. He releases one wrist to tear her dress. Lua takes the chance to strike. She presses her palm against him, transferring a horrific skin disease. It's not fatal, just an unbearable itch, but she bluffs and tells him his wine was poisoned. She claims he'll die in minutes without the antidote. He starts panicking as the phantom pain kicks in. Lua demands the documents regarding his illegal transactions with the West in exchange for his life. He is completely stunned. It doesn't take long for the coward to crumble and surrender the location. After revealing the stash, he begs for medicine. Instead, Lua hands him a formal contract to sign. She demands his signature before helping. It's a bill for a massive sum of money for Charlotte. He's horrified by the compensation amount. Paying an ex-employee this much is a nightmare to him. Lua is stern. This accounts for the physical and emotional trauma he inflicted on that poor woman. It also covers the financial ruin of her husband's bakery. He destroyed their entire livelihood without a thought. Charlotte revealed he's done this to many others, leaving them pregnant and abandoned on the streets. Lua plans to use this gold to support those women and their children. True justice. He refuses at first, but Lua tells him to choose between his massive wealth or his very life. It's an easy choice. Naturally, he signs. He begs for the cure, but Lua just stares back with ice-cold eyes. She tells him there is no antidote. Desperate, he screams for help while trembling in agony. He collapses from the unbearable itch. Once he's out, she snaps her fingers and removes the disease. As she leaves, she meets Sven. And trust me, you and I are ready for what happens next. Cedric tells her he's relieved she's okay, but his blood boils seeing her torn gown and that disgusting Viscount. He's already planning Thorne's downfall, but first he gives Alara his cloak so she can cover herself up. She apologizes for her unsightly appearance, sending poor Cedric into a massive, tomato-red blushing fit. He vows to protect her from now on. Honestly, you and I are probably just as confused as Alara is. Suddenly, Sebastian rushes over to report his suspicions of a shadow beast hiding within the palace estate. Right on cue, screams erupt from the grand ballroom as a massive horror begins attacking the guests. Alara notices Serafina watching the chaos with a twisted smile. Yes, she's actually enjoying this nightmare. Releasing the monster was the Archon's secret plan, even though they never warned the poor Viscount about it. They knew he kept a monster in his cellar and used the birthday gala to strike the gathered nobility. Most of these lords are loyal to the king and fear the church is gaining far too much power. They want the beast to wound them so Serafina can heal them and win support for the church. They had to choose their targets carefully, or the noble families would surely become suspicious of them. Serafina orders the hooded envoy to direct the monster toward the guests, but to keep them alive. Except for Alara, she orders the beast to kill her. Pay attention, this woman is a total lunatic. While the carnage unfolds, Lord Alistair is desperately trying to evacuate the ballroom and get the guests out. He is completely unarmed, because Serafina convinced him that bringing a ceremonial sword to a gala was in poor taste. The main entrance is blocked by fallen debris, making evacuation incredibly difficult. Alistair realizes he's lost track of Serafina. He prays she is safe, but he's delusional. She's perfectly fine while everyone else is in grave danger. Sebastian brings Cedric's sword from the carriage, and the knight decides it's time to face the monster. While Sebastian hunts the envoy, Cedric prepares to fight, boasting that he's even stronger than Alistair ever was. I love how he stays competitive even in a crisis. He gives her the documents and tells her to flee. But Alara has other plans. You and I both know she's not the type to just run away and hide. She realizes the monster is targeting her white hair and decides to use that fact to their advantage. Cedric isn't convinced at first. He hates the idea of putting Alara in such a dangerous situation. However, Alara silences him with a finger and insists that revenge often requires a touch of madness. Cedric is completely won over by her fire, squeezing her hand and looking at her with pure, devoted adoration. He tells her she's more than anything he imagined. Honestly, these two are giving us all the feels today. The beast lunges for an old lady with silver hair, but Alistair throws himself in front of her to block it. Luckily, Alara draws the beast's attention, luring it to a clearing where Cedric slashes its throat wide open. She then touches the creature's chest, transferring a massive hangover that knocks the monster out cold instantly. It seems her powers work on beasts too, as long as she picks the right ailment to inflict. With the horror defeated, the nobility cheers for Cedric and Alara, praising their incredible bravery and clever tactics. Serafina's plan completely blew up in her face. While she stays with the guests, Alistair stares longingly at Alara. Your plan failed miserably, didn't it, Seraphina? While she stands there, Alistair can't stop staring at Alara. Don't you dare think about crawling back to her now, buddy. That ship has definitely already sailed. Seraphina reappears looking frustrated, but she forces a smile and goes to meet with Alistair again. Luckily, Sebastian finds the hooded envoy just as he's about to escape, catching the traitor in the act. A mysterious young man also appears on the scene, and he seems to recognize Alara from many years ago. After the shadow beast was handled, Cedric showed the nobility the documents proving Thorn was behind the entire attack. The Viscount was arrested immediately along with the hooded envoy and taken away in a royal guard carriage. They were headed for a secure holding place where they would be questioned to expose the Grand Archon's conspiracy. However, the transport was ambushed by elite assassins before they could ever reach the safety of the castle. The envoy was killed instantly, while the Viscount was left so traumatized that he turned completely catatonic. Cedric and Alara suspect the Archon sent the killers, and trust me, the real war is only just starting. All right, you and I are watching them become completely catatonic, while Lure and Sven suspect the High Priest's elite assassins. Wait, you and I need to see this. Adriana had her backup knights ready from the very beginning. Her backup plan was solid, but Lady Charlotte still managed to secure a massive settlement from the Viscount. Now the Viscountess and her son are finally safe, living far away from that monster's reach. Lyra asks Cedric about their next move, but he says he has a private meeting with the king first. He tells her she is invited too, and she suddenly realizes she is about to meet the king. Meanwhile, Adriana is sulking in her chambers, absolutely furious that her grand scheme fell completely apart. She is also fuming, because the High Priest gave her a harsh lecture for being so incredibly reckless. A maid arrives to announce the High Priest wants to discuss the details for the upcoming Divine Jubilee. This is when Holy Maiden candidates gather at the palace, while Prince Silas reviews the ball incident. Silas is interrupted by his fiancée, Lady Diana, and the knight who first recognized Lyra at the gala. Diana immediately scolds the prince for his grumpy expression, telling him he should smile more like Cedric. That really sets him off, but she quickly reminds him who is boss. She is his future queen. She tells him to calm down and mentions that Lyra will be arriving at the palace very soon. Leo, the knight from the party, makes it clear to Silas that Lyra is very important to him. Now watch this part closely. The High Priest is venting his absolute rage over Adriana's selfish behavior. A maid insists it is fine since they cleaned up the mess, and Adriana might finally behave now. The Jubilee is coming, and the High Priest has already voted for her to be a Rose Maiden. Suddenly, a knight named Garrett knocks, wanting to ask the High Priest about a certain new candidate. The High Priest panics and kicks him out, trying to hide the secret papers on his desk. He cannot let anyone see his master plan, especially not when everything is so close to finishing. Garrett leaves thinking about Lyra's bravery against the beast, doubting Adriana's lies about her character. He is seriously the slowest man alive, but anyway, Lyra is already inside the royal castle walls. She walks toward the throne room, noticing everyone is whispering as she passes through the halls. But the rumors have changed. Now they are praising her courage and calling her a true hero. Some even whisper she might be chosen by the king as the second Maiden of the Rose. The Jubilee is a massive festival honoring the saints, but since there are currently none, things change. The church and the king pick two candidates to lead the ceremonies instead of a real saintess. Adriana has held the title for 2 years, while the second spot usually goes to high nobility. Back then, Lyra was always stuck doing the chores, while the others enjoyed the spotlight. You and I saw this coming. Lyra takes a shortcut through the garden and gets drenched with a bucket of water. Prince Silas finds her instantly, glaring down at her and demanding to know why she looks so pathetic. He is disgusted by her unpresentable state, but Lyra is too afraid to tell him the real truth. She keeps quiet to avoid more drama, simply telling the prince she had a clumsy accident. Silas is not buying it for a second, determined to find out why Cedric is so obsessed with her. He reaches out to grab her arm aggressively, but he is suddenly stopped by Lady Diana Rosewood. Diana starts scolding him immediately for harassing a soaking wet woman, instead of actually helping her. She reminds him that a future king must be considerate, which honestly leaves Silas looking pretty stunned. Lyra finds this hilarious. The intimidating prince is being completely handled by his own fiancé. After finishing with Silas, Diana turns to Lyra with a warm smile and introduces herself properly. Realizing she is meeting the future queen, Lyra bows respectfully and introduces herself to Lady Diana. Diana immediately pulls her along, heading to her personal chambers to find Lyra some dry clothes. Silas tries to protest, but Diana shuts him down, calling Lyra her friend and benefactor. She tells him to stay out of it, and man, I love seeing a strong woman like her. Inside her room, Diana gives Lyra a stunning crimson dress, which she accepts with a grateful heart. And trust me, you and I are going to love seeing Lyra finally look like royalty. All right, you and I are about to see Prince Sven act totally out of character for this girl. Diana thanks Evelyn for her bravery at the ball, since that old woman she saved was actually Diana's own grandmother. Later, Evelyn meets the king himself, who thanks her for helping stop the beast and catching the villains behind it all. As a reward, he offers to grant her any wish her heart desires. What do you think she asks for? Evelyn asks for the deed to her childhood home, the old Ristat estate. The king looks stunned by her request. He says it is worth nothing, but she insists. For her, that house holds every memory she has left. It was slated for demolition, so getting it back is a dream come true. She is now beyond grateful to him. The king accepts, but he is honestly shocked that she did not ask for something much bigger instead. He expected her to ask for an official engagement to Prince Sven, leaving Evelyn absolutely speechless at the suggestion. The king is dead serious. He explains that every single time Sven mentions her name, the prince completely transforms. He is more relaxed and brighter than ever before, so much so that even the queen started taking notice. Evelyn reminds him that a commoner like her marrying a prince is just not possible in this kingdom. She feels a strange sting in her heart saying it, but the king says there is actually one way. If she becomes a saint, she can marry him, but that seat has been empty for 10 whole years. As Evelyn leaves the throne room, that same jealous woman from before suddenly shoves her down the stone stairs. Sven catches her just in time, demanding to know why she fell and why she is not wearing his gift. She confesses everything, and a worried Sven decides he is assigning a personal knight to protect her from now on. He chooses Sir Julian for the job. Evelyn tries to decline, saying she is already used to being mistreated. That admission absolutely breaks Sven's heart. Now, pay attention because this next moment, it is pure magic between them. Sven tells her it is okay to show pain, but they are interrupted by a man who recognizes her. It is Louis, and he rushes forward to pull her into a massive hug, clearly overwhelmed with raw emotion. He thanks the heavens for finding her again. Evelyn is shocked but happy, trying to get him to relax. Sven steps in with a terrifying aura, literally pulling the man away from her with a look of thunder. He demands to know who this red-headed boy is. Someone is definitely jealous. Louis quickly realizes he is facing royalty. Louis begs the prince for forgiveness, while Evelyn tells Sven to stop being such a bully to her friend. She explains that Louis used to be the nanny for her and her brother when they were just children. He is actually the son of a rich merchant who ran away because his father tried forcing him into business. Her father found him and hired him for their estate, where everyone grew to love him almost immediately. Louis explains that after her family fell, his own father dragged him back home to finally learn the merchant trade. But get this, his little sister is actually way better at business than he is. Talk about a lucky break. She took over, so he was finally free. He eventually found work serving as a valet for House Peridot. He became Diana's personal servant, but then his tone shifts and he drops a total bombshell on poor Evelyn. He suspects her family did not die from a sickness. He thinks they were actually murdered in cold blood. Evelyn is horrified, asking who would want to hurt them, but before Louis can answer, some maids start complaining. He dropped some apples and has to scramble to clean them up, promising to tell her everything very soon. Honestly, I am surprised she is so surprised. Her entire family dying at once. That was always super suspicious. The next day, Evelyn finds Sir Julian standing guard right outside her bedroom door. He explains the prince appointed him as her personal shield after everything that happened at the royal palace. Sir Julian hands her an official royal letter, and the contents leave her completely frozen in shock. She sprints to Sven's greenhouse, needing to know if what the letter says could possibly be true. The letter states she has been chosen as this year's Rose Princess by the royal family itself. Evelyn cannot believe it. She asks Sven if he was the one who pulled strings to nominate her. Surprisingly, it was actually Diana who suggested her, and the rest of the court immediately agreed. Evelyn feels completely overwhelmed, thinking the role is far too grand for her, but Sven steps in. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I need to see her in that gown. All right, stick with me as Alara uses this chance to win the commoners over for their master plan. Strengthening her public image is key to finally taking down the corrupt High Pontiff when the time is right. Alara accepts being named a Rose Maiden, even though she has to share the title with Lady Ariadne. Over at Ariadne's estate, she is showing Sir Galahad her silk veil for the upcoming festival's grand gala. But Galahad has to leave, as the city streets are becoming chaotic with the festival crowds growing larger. Ariadne turns toxic immediately, demanding he send a soldier while questioning if his duty matters more than her. This seriously upsets Galahad, and he firmly reminds her that such a question is completely inappropriate for a knight. It does not last long, though, as Ariadne starts crying to manipulate him into feeling like a monster. She makes him think everything is his fault, forcing the poor guy to apologize to her instantly. Ariadne is getting bored and angry that Alara is the other Rose Maiden, so she starts plotting a downfall. Now watch this part closely, because as Alara and Julian leave the greenhouse, a dark shadow is watching. A woman with a twisted aura spies on them from the bushes, looking exactly like the one from before. She mutters that Alara is pure evil for stealing Lord Alistair from her, even claiming she is his rightful fiancé. She even clutches a locket with Alistair's picture inside, looking like she has completely lost her mind. The grand festival of Luciana lasts 3 days, and the first 2 are filled with parades and roses. The Rose Maidens hand out flowers to the public, and on day 3, they must perform a piano solo. It is a tribute to Luciana, who loved music, and the crowd throws roses at whoever plays the best. Alara is terrified of the performance, having barely touched a piano since she was forced into the cathedral years ago. She heads to the music wing of the palace to meet the mentor who will teach her the royal duties. The former Rose Maiden is supposed to help her practice, but Alara is clearly walking into a trap here. Alara is heading there escorted by Julian, and she stops to tell him that he really does not need to stay close. He insists that Lord Alistair gave him direct orders to protect her at all times, no matter what happens. Julian also asks her to stop calling him Lord Julian, preferring a more casual name between the two of them. Since she is so vital to his master's happiness, he views her with the same respect as the Duke. You and I can see she is shocked that Alistair cares that much, and she marvels at Julian's loyalty. He explains that he owes his entire life to the Duke, which is why he serves him so faithfully. Abandoned as a child, he survived on the rough western streets until he learned how to fight for himself. He was almost executed for a crime he did not commit, but Alistair stepped in to save his life. Alistair stood up for him and offered him a job, and now they finally arrive at the piano room. Alara meets the previous maiden, Nerina of House Sandra, a noble daughter who also wants to be the saint. Lady Nerina glares at her, demanding that her guard wait outside before they can even begin the lesson. Julian leaves, but warns he will burst in at the first sign of trouble, clearly sensing her hostile energy. Nerina drops her pendant, and when Alara picks it up, she realizes this is the woman who pushed her. Nerina hands over a list of songs, forcing Alara to choose one for the final night of the festival. She is incredibly rude, claiming Alara will never match her own talent or Ariadne's grace from last year. Since Alara was born noble, she expects her to at least play one simple song without embarrassing the crown. Alara fires back, stating her mother was a legendary pianist and taught her everything she needs to know. Nerina insults Alara's mother, calling her a mere performer rather than a woman of true high talent. After hearing Alara's choice, the snake suggests she play a simple children's nursery rhyme instead. Apparently, she begged her father to let her be a maiden again, but the people chose Alara instead. She has been obsessed with Alistair for years, ever since he gave her one polite smile at a ball. Now she is delusional, thinking they are engaged, and she views our girl Alara as a pest to destroy. She leaves Alara to practice alone, and Julian returns, noticing how much Nerina clearly hates her presence. He warns she might be the one who tried to kill her, but Alara refuses to involve the Duke yet. Trust me, you and I are going to love watching Alara get her own revenge on this bitter lady. Stick with me. You are about to see how Nern became obsessed with Prince Sven, believing he was a cursed royal. They only met once. He smiled at her in passing, and that single look was enough to fuel her absolute obsession. She is convinced he loves her back and is just waiting to propose. It has been 3 weeks since she met Lua. While walking through the palace, she hears a piano piece so complex and beautiful that even she could never hope to play it. Consumed by pure jealousy, she bursts into the room and finds Lua at the keys. She demands to know how Lua plays so gracefully, but Lua tells her it is rude to interrupt a performance. Lua learned this piece at 7 years old. It was the very last song her mother ever taught her before she passed. For 3 weeks, Lua has been training every day with Lady Diana, a master musician Julian recommended to her. Lua tells Diana she must reclaim her skills to perform perfectly as the Rose Maiden. Diana sees the fire in her eyes. Recognizing that Lua has a rival she needs to crush, Diana takes both her hands and promises to make her flawless. Seriously, Diana is the supportive auntie we all wish we had. She is exactly what Lua needs right now. Now Lua stands tall before Nern, making it clear she will never surrender her title as the Rose Maiden. She tells Nern that someone who only knows how to cause pain is unworthy of the crown or being a healer. Nern storms out, humiliated and absolutely fuming after losing this verbal duel. She flees to the rose garden and collapses on the grass, sobbing in total frustration. Arian appears like a shadow, whispering that it is not Nern's fault, it is all Lua's doing. Pay attention here, because Arian suggests a dark plan to get rid of Lua forever since she refuses to step down. The first morning of the grand festival is here, and the streets are filled with excitement. A massive carriage of white roses is prepared for Lua to distribute to the citizens of the kingdom. She only sees Arian once at the gates before they take separate routes through the city as the 2 Rose Maidens. They will not meet again until the grand recital. Julian arrives and tells Lua it is time to depart. Suddenly, Prince Sven appears, shocking Lua since he was supposed to be hosting foreign dignitaries during the festival week. He admits they were incredibly boring, so he dumped them on his brother just to come see her instead. With literal puppy eyes, he tells her he missed her terribly, teasing that he was getting jealous of Julian's time. Lua laughs while Julian looks incredibly awkward at the prince's blunt teasing. It is quite the scene. Sven tells her he had to see her in her rose maiden gown, calling her the most breathtaking flower in the whole kingdom. He kisses her hand, making her blush furiously. Finally, Lua heads into the town to start the festival. Julian warns her to stay sharp. With the festival crowds, crime has been spiking and danger could be lurking in any corner. Right on time, Lua spots a thief pickpocketing a stranger and decides to handle the situation herself. She approaches him under the guise of offering a rose, then touches him and unleashes her hidden powers. He falls over dizzy as his stolen loot spills everywhere. The crowd realizes what happened and swarms him to get their gold. You saw that too, right? Nice one, Lua. That is how you handle a common criminal. Lua then runs into Charlotte, the maid from the Viscount's ball, and her partner Alan. She is thrilled to see them. Charlotte happily shares that they finally got married and used the Viscount's gold to help other victims. She mentions that even the dark beast attacks have decreased lately. She thanks Lua for being a true healer of souls. To her, Lua is a savior who mends both physical and emotional wounds of the people. They promise to cheer for her at the recital by throwing her a white rose during the performance. They explain that it is a commoner tradition to throw a rose to the princess you support the most. Meanwhile, Arian is handing out yellow roses to the townspeople, while Sir Garrett watches her with a fond smile. He thinks she is such a kind soul for being so gentle with the children and the elderly. Honestly, if you have to question if someone is good, they probably are not, but Garrett remains totally clueless. And trust me, you and I are going to see just how wrong he is very soon. He hears a child crying and rushes over. The mother says the boy was pricked by a rose thorn. Garrett tells him the rose maiden can heal him, but the boy refuses, saying she is too scary to go near. Garrett is stunned as the mother begins to explain what happened the previous year. All right, you and I are about to see a supposedly holy priestess show her true, ugly colors after a young boy is savaged. Lady Ariana refuses to heal him, screaming at the dying child for even touching her sacred veil. Sir Garrett watches in total disbelief. He believed she was his savior, but as Lady Alina carries her son away, Sir Garrett finally begins to question every single lie. While he searches for the truth, Lady Lucinda takes a well-deserved break from her exhausting duties as the kingdom's newest rose princess. With coin in her pocket, she explores the capital's grand market, eager to find a small treasure amidst the bustling festival crowds. She stops at a small stall and finds a stunning vial of crimson perfume. The merchant claims it is popular among southern lords. The scent is sweet and refreshing, instantly reminding her of the kindness Prince Sebastian has shown her during her time here. She considers buying it as a thank you when suddenly, Lord Julian appears and catches her completely off her guard. He asks directly if the gift is for the prince, making Lady Lucinda blush a deep and embarrassed shade of bright red. She tries to deny it, claiming such a simple gift would mean nothing to royalty, but Lord Julian just laughs at her. He insists that coming from her, it would mean the world to the prince. Encouraged, she finally decides to make the purchase. Suddenly, a wild commotion erupts nearby, drawing their attention to a local tavern filled with rowdy cheers and loud shouting. They find a massive drinking contest in full swing, led by a mysterious woman in a green hood who is out drinking everyone. It is Lady Diana, acting out in a scandalous way. Lucinda spots a familiar face nearby and asks what is going on. Apparently, Prince Sebastian buried Lord Cedric in work, leaving Diana to wander the festival all alone, which clearly sent her into a rage. Cedric also reveals a heavy secret. Once the festival ends, he intends to tell Lucinda the truth behind her family's tragic death. Finally, the last day arrives. The Grand Cathedral is packed as the highly anticipated piano recital is about to begin right now. The high priest takes the stage first, using the moment to brag about the church's role in defending people from demonic beast attacks. It is a move to boost their reputation. Backstage, Lucinda prepares herself, only to be cornered by the spiteful Lady Ariana. Ariana sneers at her, mocking her orphan status and calling her uneducated, confident that her own performance will completely overshadow her. Now pay attention here. Ariana tells Lucinda that if she somehow manages to finish her piece, she might get a rose. Lucinda is deeply unsettled. What on earth did she mean by if she manages to finish? She confronts Ariana about her games. Ariana laughs, admitting she has been using her since day one. She once called Lucinda perfect, but only as a tool. She meant she was perfect for her to use. Lady Ariana is truly the worst person in the kingdom. Lucinda is furious, swearing that Ariana will pay for what she did. Ariana just laughs and walks out onto the stage. While Ariana performs, the crazed Lady Nerissa is hiding backstage, clutching a heavy rope with a wild look in her eyes. She sabotaged the stage yesterday, planning to drop the roof during Lucinda's performance to make it look like a tragic accident. Ariana finishes her piece to thunderous applause. She exits, and Lucinda takes her place with a look of pure, focused determination. I know what you're thinking. Is she really about to die? Well, Lord Julian and the prince have other plans for this villain. You saw that too. Lady Nerissa is hiding backstage, clutching a rope with a crazed, maniacal expression. Nerissa yells for her to die and tries to pull the rope, but Lord Julian stops her mid-motion before she can. Prince Sebastian appears, warning her not to ruin such a beautiful performance with her mindless violence. Nerissa is caught red-handed. Sebastian reveals that Julian already saw through her scheme and knew she was trying to harm Lady Lucinda this entire time. He adds that Julian already cut the rope from the ceiling, so her little plan was doomed from the very start. She tries to play the victim, begging her supposed fiancé to believe she is innocent of these terrible crimes against the crown. Prince Sebastian shuts her down with a cold glare, declaring that their engagement was nothing but a delusion in her mind. Lord Julian agrees, telling her that they were never engaged at all, and the entire thing was just her twisted imagination. The prince then mentions her father, the Chancellor, and how difficult it must be to manage such a troublesome daughter. Sebastian reveals they have been planning to fire her father for prioritizing his own wealth over the kingdom for a long time. They have even found replacements for him. The only issue was his refusal to leave, but this crime changes everything. Lord Julian agrees, telling her that they were never engaged at all, and the entire relationship was just her twisted imagination. The prince then mentions her father, the Chancellor, and how difficult it must be to manage such a troublesome daughter during his work. This shocks Nerissa as Sebastian reveals they have been planning to fire her father for prioritizing his own wealth over the kingdom. They have even found replacements for him. The only issue was his refusal to leave, but his daughter's crimes have changed everything. And that's where we leave it. After her crimes are exposed, the Chancellor will finally be forced to back down. Trust me. Stick with me, we're diving straight into the moment. Nerissa begs for mercy from Sir Sven. Sven gives her an icy glare, telling her he has absolutely zero use for her. She is only the Chancellor's daughter, and he reminds her she's about to lose that title too. Terrified by his cold fury, she collapses to her knees, completely broken by his overwhelming presence. She begs for forgiveness, even offering to apologize to Lady Alara, but Sven is done playing games. She will pay for targeting the Rose Princess, and they will never cross paths again. Period. Guards haul her away as she screams his name, but he doesn't even bother to look back. Now pay attention to this. Something finally clicks, and she realizes just how heartless he truly is. About time she figured it out. Nerissa is gone, and Sven thanks Captain Silas for his help. Silas asks about her fate, and Sven reveals she's headed for a secluded sanctuary for rejected saint candidates. Her father is getting fired, too. Both of them will be banished without a single gold coin. They'll lose everything, money, power, and their place in the kingdom. Talk about a complete downfall. Alara's performance ends, and Sven regrets missing it, but he's already dreaming of a future duet together. The festival finally wraps up as the High Priest and both Rose Princesses take their rightful place on the stage. Arian is fuming over the cheers for Alara, cursing Nerissa for failing to get rid of her. The High Priest then signals for everyone to cast their roses into the center. You and I both know this epic vengeance story is hitting all the right notes lately, don't you think? I am absolutely loving the drama and watching our gorgeous Lady Alara grow stronger and more fierce every single chapter. We love a strong female lead, but man, Sir Garrett is being so incredibly clueless here. Garrett is finally getting suspicious, wondering how someone as loved as Alara could ever be a bully. He's questioning if Arian was actually the one who saved his life when he was found unconscious. He decides to confront her to discover the actual truth, but as he approaches her dressing room, he stops dead. He's absolutely shocked to see her screaming and throwing things at the staff, like a total, unhinged nightmare. Arian is fuming about how the piano concert went, mostly because Alara received far more white roses than she did. Garrett walks in on her unhinged tantrum, and she immediately throws herself at him, sobbing and loudly demanding his total comfort. She demands he console her, insisting that Lady Alara must have done something incredibly dirty to win this entire festival. He cannot even get a word in, as she desperately asks if he preferred her own performance over Alara's. Stunned by her behavior, he stays silent, so she immediately starts the guilt trip. She cries about him not taking her side, making it impossible for him to speak his mind. He caves in to calm her down, apologizing while Alara waits for her carriage near the temple. Alara is waiting for her carriage near the temple, thinking about how furious Arian looked when she realized she'd lost. Alara smiles, knowing her rival deserved it, just as Sven appears and takes a seat beside her. Sven congratulates her on her success as the Rose Princess, even calling her a literal goddess under the moonlight. She laughs it off, but deep down, it feels amazing to be appreciated like this. Shyly, she offers him a special gift, a perfume she found earlier that day, to thank him for everything he's done. Sven is stunned into silence, while Alara keeps rambling on about the scent to hide her nerves. Suddenly, he pulls her into a tight hug, and her entire face turns a bright shade of crimson. She asks why he's hugging her so suddenly, but he just holds her closer, feeling truly happy. He never expected a gift from her, and honestly, it made his whole world feel brighter. She acts like it is no big deal, but he insists that her effort and time are everything to him. He'll cherish it forever. Still holding her, he says there is something important they need to discuss. Once their plan for vengeance is complete, he wants to speak his heart to her. He won't say it now, because he refuses to get in her way, while she carries out the final steps of her plan. Alara pulls his sleeve, telling him he has never been a burden and thanking him for always saving her from the shadows. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are ready for what happens next. The carriage driver finally arrives for Alara, stunned to see Prince Cedric by her side. Stick with me, this is getting good. The prince departs, thanking her again for the perfume and wishing her a peaceful evening. For a while after the festival, everything seemed to finally calm down for everyone. The Duke and Lord Alaric made no new moves, while Chancellor Mallory suddenly decided to retire to the far outskirts of the Empire with Nora. Alara prepares for her visit to the Emerald Manor, finally ready to meet Lucas to talk about her parents' mysterious and sudden death. Upon her arrival, Lady Diana warmly greets her, happy to see her friend at the estate once more. Lady Diana greets her with a joyful smile and invites her for tea the next time she visits, as she leads Alara toward the room where Lucas is currently waiting for them both. As they walk, Diana mentions that her grandmother, the lady Lucas saved during the ball attack, also wanted to meet her later since she is currently occupied with other visitors at the moment. However, the lady is currently occupied with other guests, so Alara will have to wait a little while. That is when they spot a man leaving a nearby room, and Alara instantly recognizes his face. Diana stops the gentleman before he can leave, addressing him as the Marquis Sterling. Alara remembers that name. His family is one of the 3 houses secretly working together with the High Priest. Meanwhile, at the palace, Prince Julian storms into Cedric's office, shouting at the top of his lungs. Cedric stays cool, telling him he shouldn't get angry so frequently because if he does, his fiancée will surely get tired of him. He slams a report onto the desk, demanding to know why Alara is visiting the Emerald Manor right now. Now, watch this. He thinks Cedric is plotting to win Diana's favor. Talk about being completely off the mark. Cedric tries to calm him, explaining there is no scheme. Diana and Alara simply enjoy each other's company. But the prince knows the real truth. Alara is only there to uncover the dark secrets behind her parents' tragic and mysterious deaths. He feels a pang of jealousy that he cannot go with her, especially while remembering how strongly Lucas had hugged her when they met. Julian isn't buying it, though, convinced that his brother is hiding something big from him. The truth is, Cedric hasn't mentioned the church's darkness to Julian, but he did inform the Emperor about the entire matter. The Emperor has placed the entire investigation in Cedric's hands, trusting him to handle the matter. The royal family can't do much until they have plenty of evidence against the church, so for now they are just keeping quiet. Still, Cedric says nothing to Julian, who simply sighs and calms down before asking his brother if he is wearing cologne. Excitedly, Cedric shows off the perfume Alara gave him, rambling about it until Julian loses all interest. Honestly, Julian couldn't care less about fragrance, so he immediately turns around and walks out. Back at the manor, Alara wonders if the Emerald family is actually involved in the Duke's sinister plans. Lady Diana then introduces him to Alara, telling her how every year the heads of noble families visit their mansion during the holy festival. This eases Alara's suspicions, as she remembers how her own father also used to visit the Emerald Manor once every single year. The Marquis introduces himself, but his expression shifts to a dark scowl when he hears her last name. You saw that reaction too, right? Alara asks if something is wrong, but he quickly tries to hide it. He claims he is just shocked to see a commoner as a holy maiden candidate in the capital. Diana explains that Alara is the hero who saved her grandmother during the ball, which only makes the Marquis look even more queasy. He looks physically ill, his face turning a sickly shade of green as the conversation continues. He tries to excuse his behavior by saying his brother is in charge of public affairs, but he looks so sick that Diana offers Alara's assistance. The Marquis hastily declines the offer and leaves immediately, telling them that he is running late for something very important. Alara asks why he looked so terrified, and Diana explains that his son is dying from a disease. Lady Diana informs her that his son and heir has fallen ill with a severe unknown disease and has been left completely bedridden. This really raises Alara's suspicions, as she remembers the mysterious death her family fell into and wonders if it is related. She begins to wonder whether the Marquis's son's illness is somehow connected to the tragedy that took her family long ago. Alara spends some time talking with Diana's grandmother, so she eventually arrives a little bit late to her meeting with Lucas. She knocks on the study door, and Lucas welcomes her inside with a warm, gentle smile. He has baked a fresh apple pie for them to enjoy, which makes Alara remember her little brother, who also loved Lucas's special apple pies. Lucas is finally ready to reveal everything he knows about the tragedy that struck her family 10 years ago. And trust me, you and I aren't ready for this flashback to young Alara at Ravenscroft. All right, you and I are about to watch a peaceful family scene turn into a total nightmare. They encourage her to practice the piano until she can master that specific song all by herself. Alara wants to master the piano, just as Lucas arrives bringing his famous, freshly baked apple pie. Lady Alina stands to fetch tea for everyone, but she is stopped in the hallway by a servant. A maid delivers a letter, and her face falls instantly. It seems this mysterious message has arrived many times before. Lady Alina says goodbye to Alara, sending her to a friend's manor for just a single night. Alara is confused and upset. Why is she the only one who has to leave the Silverthorn estate? Her mother insists it is just a special outing and promises they will all go on a trip soon. Her father arrives to bid her farewell, cradling her younger brother Arthur, who is burning up with fever. Arthur wants to go along, but his father tells him he must stay in bed until he recovers. Alara offers to heal him, but her mother snaps, reminding her that her powers come at a price. Using her magic drains her own health, so she must only use it when it is truly necessary. Arthur argues that she helped a village boy recently, but his mother refuses to hear another single word. Lucas tries to convince them to let the boy travel, but the decision is final. Alara leaves alone. She waves goodbye, promising to see them soon. Poor girl, I think we both know what happens next. Pay attention now. because this is where a small mistake leads to a terrifying discovery for Lucas and the girl. Upon arriving, Lucas realizes a piece of luggage is missing. He must have forgotten it on the road. Their carriage had some trouble earlier, and he is frantic to recover the lost bag as soon as possible. The hostess offers a carriage, but Lucas grabs a horse instead. He needs to move fast to get back. He gallops back to the spot and finds the bag, but then he hears voices in the brush. Two cloaked men are whispering about a trap. They say the poison will spread through the body overnight. The men vanish into the shadows, mentioning a plan to gather data from the poor victims of their dark scheme. Lucas feels like he recognizes one of their voices, but he shakes it off and rushes back to Alara. Soon, Lucas and Alara are in the carriage heading back to the Silverthorn estate when she speaks. She tells Lucas she had fun, but the whole situation feels strange. Why was she the only target? Lucas claims he knows nothing, but he cannot stop thinking about that mysterious letter his mistress received. You and I can tell something is wrong. The silence at the Silverthorn Manor is absolutely terrifying and deafening. Alara hops out and sprints toward the front doors, eager to surprise her family after her night away. But as she steps inside, the excitement vanishes. The grand halls are empty. No one is there to greet them. She runs through the house, calling out for her parents, while a worried Lucas follows close behind her. In one of the silent side rooms, Lucas finds the head maid collapsed on the cold floor. He rushes over. A faint scent of roses hangs in the air. He tries to wake her, but she is completely unresponsive. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoes from down the hall. Alara has found something. Lucas runs toward the sound. To his absolute horror, the entire family lies dead. Alara is desperately trying to wake her little brother. Tears stream down her face. Lucas notices a strange bruise shaped like a rose on all their necks. He pulls Alara away. It is too late for Arthur, and the healing magic could kill her now. They realize Lady Alina is still breathing, though she is fading fast. Lucas kneels down beside her. With her final breath, she whispers the name of the piano song and tells them she loves them. The applause of daybreak. Then she is gone. Years later, Lucas recounts these tragic events to Alara once more. She remembers being told it was an unknown disease her father caught during his charity work in town. They claimed she survived only because of her healing powers, while everyone else was taken by the plague. Taken in by the high priest, Alara began her new life of service at the Grand Temple. Lucas reveals he has spent years investigating. He found a witness who saw men leaving the house that night. A witness saw men leaving the Silverthorn home that night, matching the cloaked figures Lucas saw in the woods. Stick with me, because Lucas realized that the voice he heard undoubtedly belonged to someone he knew. Stick with me. We are diving into a world of dark secrets and hidden betrayal. Louisa wonders if the high priest killed her family just to keep her trapped as a helpless orphan. She recalls him mentioning a secret plan while she was spying on him before joining forces with Sebastian. Louisa is determined to uncover the meaning behind her mother's last words and that mysterious piano melody. Suddenly, a knock at the door cuts her thoughts short as Lady Diana arrives with a surprise gift. It is a childhood photo of Louisa and Prince Sebastian together when they were very young children. Diana notices Louisa's flash of anger, but our girl quickly masks it and gently takes the picture. Young Sebastian looks exactly like the boy she saved years ago. Diana teases her before finally heading out. She jokingly warns Louis not to annoy Louisa, or he might face the legendary temper of the prince. Once Diana leaves, Louis reveals he has secured the property records for her old family home. This means she can finally return to the Lestat Manor to investigate the truth for herself. She is certain the answers are hidden there and wants to leave for the manor this very moment. Louis is terrified of letting her go unguarded, but Louisa refuses to put anyone else at risk. He suggests asking Lady Diana for nights, but Louisa fears Ariana might track her every single move. She thinks about asking Julian, but Prince Sebastian has already sent him away on a secret mission. Pay attention here. This is where she decides to handle this dangerous investigation all alone. Louis refuses to let her go solo and insists on joining her at the abandoned Lestat Manor. Soon, Louisa is dressed in riding gear while Louis prepares the horses for their secret journey. She feels guilty for asking so much, but Louis insists that Diana's family is happy to help. They are still forever grateful to her for saving Lady Diana during the chaos of the ball. Both of them mount their horses and start the long ride toward the abandoned Lestat family manor. As they ride together, Louis asks her what is really going on with her and Prince Sebastian. Caught off guard, she struggles for an answer while Louis notes the powerful bond between them. Silence falls between them until Louis clarifies that he is not actually trying to be jealous. He claims it is his duty as a Lestat to vet any man who might marry her. This only makes Louisa feel even more awkward and flustered by his sudden protective nature. She argues that a marriage to royalty is impossible, but Louis is not listening to her excuses. He desperately begs her not to tell the prince they are riding together out of pure fear. Louisa laughs as they reach the spot where the high priest held his secret meeting that night. Now watch closely, because a sudden rustling in the bushes is about to stop them cold. Meanwhile, the deputy enters Lord Garrett's office to report that savage beasts are still haunting the area. Lord Garrett orders his men to clear the woods immediately to protect the people of the kingdom. An officer smiles, noting how much Garrett resembles his legendary father when he is truly focused. Everyone knows he is working hard to honor his family name, but there is one major concern. Some worry he is spending too much time focusing on Lady Ariana instead of his official duties. This stings Garrett, as he already feels he is failing to live up to his father's legacy. He pushes the doubt aside, determined to find the truth about Ariana supposedly saving his life. He heads over to the Great Temple to ask about the day he was pulled from death. He corners an attendant and bluntly demands the truth about how Ariana supposedly saved him that day. The girl trembles, being the only one who knows it was actually Louisa who saved his life. We see that Garrett grew up under the heavy weight of his father's impossible and harsh expectations. He endured brutal training since he was a small child, all just to earn a single nod. But he remembers his mother's sad eyes every time he left to go train with the knights. She warned him that being too stubborn would make him lose sight of what truly mattered in life. You and I have to wonder, will he finally choose to listen to his mother's warning and stop this? All right, you and I are about to dive into a wild tale of betrayal, noble knights, and a powerful long-lost secret. Years passed, and his father was crippled while defending his battalion, sustaining wounds that even high priests could not mend. Forced into retirement, Alastair took his father's place as high commander. But soon, Alastair himself was dying from a fatal blow. As he hovered between life and death at the cathedral, he caught a fleeting glimpse of a golden-haired girl weaving magic. He slipped back into the darkness, and when his eyes finally opened, the crisis had passed and the danger was over. Lady Beatrice and Bishop Julian were there, claiming Beatrice was the one who had miraculously pulled him back from the brink. Grateful, he announced his engagement to her, telling his father that this woman was the true savior of his life. Back in the present, the servant is trembling, struggling to tell him the real truth about who saved him that night. Before she can speak, the lieutenant interrupts. A beast has been sighted near the abandoned 𝑰𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 estate, and someone's been hurt. At the mention of the 𝑰𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 name, Alastair panics and rushes out to help, his heart racing with intense worry. The rustling Aloin and Sela's herd was indeed a monster. Their horse bolts in terror, throwing them both to the ground. Aloin accidentally falls on Sela's, and as she scrambles to check on him, a deadly threat lunges from the shadows. Now watch this. Sela's throws himself in front of her, shielding her body from a spray of toxic purple fluid. The venom spreads fast. Desperate, Aloin uses her forbidden curse power to paralyze the creature, freezing it right in its tracks. She turns her focus to Sela's. She has to save him, even if it means breaking her vow to never heal. But Sela's stops her. He knows the cost of her magic and refuses to let her suffer just to save him. 𝑰𝒏𝒕𝒐 begs him to let her help, but he insists he made a promise to never let her hurt herself. He tells her not to panic. His father was a merchant who taught him all about the venomous creatures of the land. The beast's toxin can be neutralized by the juice of poisonous crimson berries. One poison cancels out the other. However, as he fumbles through his satchel, he realizes he forgot the berry powder. The dizziness hits, and he collapses. 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 remembers once curing a man who ate those berries. Using her power, she transfers the symptoms into Sila's to survive. It is a desperate gamble, but it works. The conflicting poisons neutralize each other, and Sila's is finally out of danger. Gaining his trust, 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 confesses her secret power. Sila's immediately swears an oath of silence, promising to protect her truth. They finally reach the old manor. 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 is overwhelmed with emotion, seeing the home she lost so many years ago. Inside, the mansion is strangely clean. Sila's notices fresh footprints in the dust, as if someone was here just recently. A loud thud echoes from the hallway. 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 silences Sila's with a gesture. They are not the only ones inside tonight. Meanwhile, Alistair and his men are racing toward the estate. The lieutenant reports that a thief was spotted nearby. The criminal had an accomplice who is still missing. They suspect the pair were targeting the 𝑽𝒊𝒐 mansion for its treasures. Alistair pushes his horse harder. He wonders how 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 would feel if she found her family home being robbed like this. Back at the house, 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 and Sila's are frozen, hearing movement coming from behind a heavy wooden door. The noise is coming from right in front of them. 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 marches inside to find the person hiding there. As she enters, a man leaps from the shadows, pressing a cold, sharp knife against her slender neck. The thief snarls, demanding all their gold, but 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 does not blink. She tells him he has made a mistake. Instead, she tells him he is underestimating her. She touches his arm, flooding his mind with horrific hallucinations. The venomous visions cause him to scream and flee the 𝑽𝒊𝒐 mansion, leaving 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 and Sila's alone at last. Now, you and I can see them finally begin searching for clues about Lady 𝑽𝒊𝒐's mysterious final words. 𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 is startled when Sila's suddenly jumps with joy. He found something nostalgic inside the thief's discarded bag. He pulls out an item that might help them finally decode the secret message his mother left behind. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, Prince Leopold is taking a quiet stroll through the gardens during his break. He enjoys the fresh air, unaware of the danger his friends are facing out at the abandoned manor. The palace walls hide many secrets, but the prince's mind is elsewhere as he reflects on his duties. Back at the house, the pair are closer than ever to uncovering the truth of the 𝑽𝒊𝒐 family legacy. Every scrap of evidence is vital. Sila's looks at the item again, hoping it holds the answers they need. The sun begins to set, and time is running out. They must solve this mystery before anyone else arrives. And that's where we leave it. Prince Leopold continues his walk, oblivious to the chaos unfolding elsewhere tonight. Bridge 1, stick with me, because we are jumping into a royal tragedy where Finn is desperately missing his beloved Luna today. He is swamped with palace work, and Sir Julian still has not returned from his mission, leaving Finn feeling completely alone. While walking the grounds, Finn hears someone playing the same haunting piece Luna performed at the Grand Rose Festival. He remembers his mother hiring a gifted pianist to play that song for the entire kingdom on that special day. The tragic story behind that piano piece perfectly suits Luna and the heavy burden she has been forced to carry. Meanwhile, at the Stirling Manor, Lewis finds the old music box he and his sister used to play with together. Luna remembers her mother's final breath, where she mentioned a secret compartment hidden deep inside that very music box. Her mother promised that only the two of them would ever know about the valuable treasure hidden within it. Luna finally opens the secret slot and discovers a small golden key that has been hidden away for many years. Lewis and Luna are confused, but then Luna has an epiphany about their mother Diana's private diary. It is the key to her mother's diary. They both rush upstairs to her bedroom, where they find the diary and confirm the golden key fits perfectly. Luna gets emotional while reading her mother's words, which are filled with nothing but pure love for her family. As she turns the pages, she finds a hidden letter that her mother had kept concealed inside the diary's binding. Lewis recognizes it as the ominous message that arrived just before disaster struck, sent by the dangerous Father Felix. The temple was trying to recruit Luna as a Saintess candidate, despite her family's desperate attempts to protect her. Her mother refused, knowing that using Luna's holy healing abilities would eventually destroy her health and take her life. However, the temple insisted on a meeting to discuss her gift, as it is common to demand such blessed children. It is usually a child's duty to oblige, but parents can refuse if they have valid reasons for protection. Bridge 2. Now pay attention, because the date of that meeting is the exact day Luna's family was brutally destroyed. It was the same night Luna was sent to a friend's house, while everyone else in the manor perished. Lewis reads the entry and realizes her parents sent her away specifically to avoid a visit from Father Felix. They didn't want the priest talking to her during his visit, sensing the dark intentions hidden behind his words. Lady Sterling knew Luna looked up to the saints, but she could never allow her to go to the temple. She mistrusted the institution, but more than that, she felt a deep suspicion toward Father Felix's actual character. She had warned her husband about a suspicious meeting Father Felix had with an infamous man during a trip. Luna's father witnessed the encounter during a charity journey, even though he couldn't hear their conversation from afar. The man Felix was speaking with was a disgraced researcher who specialized in the dark secrets of Saintess magic. He was banished after performing atrocious experiments, making the lady realize that Father Felix was a dangerous, lying monster. Seeing the priest consort with such a man confirmed her worst fears about the temple's plans for her daughter. When Father Felix arrived to meet them, he was surprisingly calm when they refused to let him take Luna. Bridge 3. Watch closely, because this cold departure is when the real horror begins for their family. Right after he left, Lewis ran into the room excitedly showing off a black rose from a flower merchant. The merchant wasn't the usual old lady, but a mysterious young man that the servants had never seen before. He simply handed Lewis the black rose. Lewis was excited to give it to Luna when she returned. Lady Sterling sent him to put the rose in water while she finished writing her final diary entry. But she grew worried when her husband and son took a long time to return from the simple task. When she went to check on them, she was hit by a pungent, poisonous scent filling the entire room. A thick cloud of black dust hung in the air, and she saw her husband and son collapsed. The poison was coming from the rose, and she realized Father Felix and the merchant were behind the attack. With her last bit of strength, she returned to her room to write the truth in her diary. She hoped that Luna would one day read it and know who was responsible for their family's tragic end. She then returned to die beside her fallen family. Bridge 4, and that's where the diary ends. Luna is silent, and Lewis is left worrying about how his sister will handle this truth. Stick with me. Alara confirms her family's death was no accident before turning away from her past. Sebastian asks if she is all right, but she turns to him with dry, determined eyes. She tells him that despite the trauma, she must move on to finally achieve her goal. Sebastian is mesmerized by her lack of emotion, remembering how she cried constantly as a child. He wonders if her heart has simply run dry of tears as they depart the manor. They take the diary and music box, while Sir Garrett and his men reach the paralyzed beast. The massive creature is collapsed on the floor, right next to the thief Alara had traumatized. The knights are baffled, wondering why the monster is down and the thief is totally catatonic. They decide to drag the man into custody, hoping for answers once he stops shivering. Garrett sets aside his suspicions of Ariana, for now to focus on the monster crisis. Now pay attention. Sebastian finally returns to Alara, full of regret for leaving her alone. He apologizes for her, having to face the truth of Bishop Felix's crimes by herself. She dismisses it as him being busy with duties, but Sebastian is still in awe of her. He's amazed by the secrets in the diary and looks at Alara with deep, sad admiration. Sebastian finds the mention of the banished researcher most intriguing and starts making a dark connection. Sebastian then explains that there is a connection to the man Sir Julian is currently hunting. He suspects a link to the man Sir Julian is currently hunting and will reveal more later. He promises to investigate the researcher personally and thanks her for such a massive breakthrough. Seeing her lost in thought, Sebastian gently calls her name to get her back to reality. She expects a new mission, but instead, with gleaming eyes, he asks her on a date. Alara is stunned and blushes furiously, questioning if they should really be resting right now. Sebastian insists they need to recover their strength if they want their final plan to succeed. She finally accepts with a radiant smile, while Sebastian promises to plan their entire day. Sebastian then tells her he will take care of everything for their very first date. Now back in her room, the lady is spiraling as she tries to pick an outfit. Sebastian promises to plan everything, while Alara heads to her room to choose an outfit. She wishes she could consult Ariana like the old days, but those bridges are long burned. Her other allies are too far away, but fortunately, Mary the maid suddenly enters the room. Mary had seen Alara heal the commander and freezes when she realizes she is not alone. Alara stops her, kindly asking for advice on which gown would look best for her date. She remembers Mary as the only soul who treated her with respect in this cold manner. Alara admits she was worried about her, but the maid just stares at her with guilt. Mary claims she was just on sick leave, hiding the true reason she fled from her. Look closely. Mary is absolutely tortured by her shame, remembering how she betrayed Alara's kindness. That night, Mary had accidentally found Sir Garrett's room while she was wandering the halls. She watched from the shadows as Alara arrived to heal the unconscious commander with her magic. Fearing Bishop Felix would catch her, Mary fled before the miracle was even fully finished. The next morning, she went to Alara's room, only to find a scene from a nightmare. Blood was pooling beneath the door, and Mary burst in, fearing the worst for her. Alara was unconscious, having absorbed all of Garrett's injuries, nearly dying in the process. Her self-healing had failed, and that is when Lady Ariana walked in with a smirk. Ariana claimed Alara had been out partying, mocking the girl who was literally bleeding out. She lied, saying Alara was attacked by a beast while she herself had saved the commander. Ariana stole the credit for the miracle, while Mary stood by, too terrified to speak. And trust me, you and I are going to see Ariana pay for this betrayal very soon. All right, you and I are diving into noble schemes. Beatrice continues her lies, trapping poor Martha in a corner. Martha remembers the head maid's warning. She shouldn't cross Lady Nerina or Beatrice, as their noble houses hold terrifying power and influence. Everyone knows Bishop Felix favors Beatrice above all others. She is the chosen one, the most likely to become the Holy Maiden. Martha finally decides to go along with Beatrice, choosing to agree with the lies just to protect her own life. Beatrice leaves the room with a smirk, heading to see Lord Arthur while ordering Martha to scrub the blood from the corridor. Lyra is still unconscious as her body slowly tries to heal. Martha rushes to find bandages to help the poor girl. She knows that once the physical wounds vanish, all proof of the truth will be gone, buried under Beatrice's false rumors and lies. During the month Lyra is bedridden, Beatrice's rumors spread like wildfire. The girl's reputation is being burned to the ground before her eyes. Even though people suspect the truth, they're too afraid to speak up. The power of a great noble house is absolute. Now, this is where it gets frustrating. Watch how everyone plays the fool, terrified of the house of Beatrice. Lyra notices how distraught Martha looks and kindly tells her to go rest. She offers to clean her own bedroom herself. This kindness makes Martha break down. She's crushed by the guilt of staying silent instead of telling Lord Arthur the real truth. The next day arrives. Lyra pulls herself together and heads out to meet Alistair at their special meeting place. She heads to the bench where they shared a hug during the Rose Festival. She's still worried about Martha, but she tries her best to focus on the day. Her dark thoughts vanish the moment she sees Alistair waiting. He looks up with a smile that brightens her entire world instantly. Lyra apologizes for making him wait, but he just smiles back. He tells her that seeing her was worth every second. She blushes as he offers his hand, asking to escort her for the entire day. He even calls her his princess. Lyra gladly takes his hand as they start their walk. Alistair immediately tells her that her dress looks absolutely lovely on her. She admits she had a hard time choosing what to wear. She then compliments him on his casual commoner outfit for the day. Alistair laughs, but admits Sir Cedric scolded him for being too informal. Apparently, the knights take their appearance very seriously indeed. Lyra laughs at the thought. They walk together, the weight of the palace finally starting to lift away. You and I both love a good, save the girl moment, right? Alistair pulls her close as a runaway carriage thunders past. She's frozen in his arms, her heart racing. That's when she catches the scent of the cologne she gifted him recently. Alistair is over the moon that she noticed. He excitedly reveals it even helped him improve trade with the Southern Isles. Finally, they arrive at a small, charming bakery. It belongs to Charlotte and her husband, and Lyra is thrilled to be there. She's been wanting to visit for ages. She wonders how Alistair knew. Charlotte and her husband are absolutely ecstatic to see them. They spend a wonderful time chatting while picking out some pastries. It's a peaceful moment of joy they both really needed today. They leave the shop and head for their next stop. While snacking on treats, Alistair mentions taking her to the Great Theater. Lyra is excited to see the famous foreign singer, but she remembers the strict dress code from when she was a child. Alistair tells her not to worry. He's planning to take her to a nearby boutique so she can dress for the occasion. He makes her blush by saying he loves her current look too much to change it. But suddenly, Lyra spots a young boy in pain. He ate some poisonous berries behind his mother's back. Lyra knows exactly what it is and exactly how to fix the boy's suffering. The cure requires another toxic herb, but the boy is too weak to move. Plus, he's terrified of seeking help from the temple. He's the same kid Beatrice turned away. He'd rather suffer than face the cold, holy maiden again. Lyra decides to heal him herself, using her forbidden arts. She's already cured someone who took the same herbal remedy before. Immediately, the boy feels better and thanks her. He recognizes her as the kind soul who saved him in the past. Alistair gives the boy their bag of pastries, since the child is hungry again. The boy runs away with a joyful smile. Alistair looks at Lyra with gleaming eyes. He thinks it's wonderful that she found a way to use her power to help. But he gets a little jealous when she admits she learned about poisons from Louis. It seems he wants her focus on him. They finally reach the boutique. Lyra is a bit embarrassed by the lavish dress Alistair picked for her. She's worried it's too much, but Alistair insists she'll look like a queen. The royal makeover is about to begin. While the attendants help her dress, Alistair waits outside, his heart beating fast. He knows the result will be absolutely breathtaking. Lyra looks at herself in the mirror and barely recognizes the girl staring back. For once, she feels like she truly belongs. She steps out of the dressing room. Alistair stops breathing for a second, completely captivated by the vision before him. So what do you and I think? Is this the start of something real? Trust me, the night is just beginning. All right, you and I are about to watch our couple prepare for a very special evening together. Lord Cedric is stunned by Lady Alara's beauty in her new gown, making her blush with intense shyness. He leans in close, whispering how lovely she looks and how truly honored he is to escort her out for their date. Alara is incredibly nervous as she asks if he will change too, while the designer prepares his royal attire. The shop owner excitedly announces she has crafted a magnificent outfit truly worthy of high nobility for him. After giving Alara a piercingly handsome look, Cedric heads to the dressing room to change into his new clothes. The designer then approaches Lady Alara, asking if she is the famous noblewoman everyone has been talking about lately. Now, pay attention here, because this lady was once a victim of that cruel Viscount before he was caught. She explains the trauma he caused her, making her fear men for years until the prince finally intervened recently. Thanks to 𝑰𝒏𝒕𝒐 and the prince exposing his crimes, the Viscount has finally paid for all his past wrongdoings. She reveals she opened this shop using funds provided by Duchess Charlotte as restitution for all the Viscount's victims. She feels deeply honored to host them today, as their actions allowed her business to flourish in the capital. 𝒏𝒕𝒐 smiles warmly at the shop owner, telling her she is equally pleased to meet such a brave woman. Finally, Cedric emerges in his royal suit, and this time, 𝒏𝒕𝒐 is the one completely mesmerized by his elegance. She blushes deeply, while complimenting his handsome appearance as the designer explains her choices for their matching outfits. Both garments were designed to complement each other perfectly, using colors that signify their growing bond and noble status. She even included matching white roses on their clothes before they depart for the grand opera in a carriage. To avoid prying eyes in the busy streets, the shop owner arranged a private carriage to wait just outside for them. While traveling, they discuss a gift for Sir Alistair, remembering the time Cedric gave him a fine ceremonial blade. Alistair cherished the weapon so much he put it on display, rather than using it for his daily training. 𝒏𝒕𝒐 asks about the evening's program, which turns out to be the legendary tale of Saint Lucina, the healer. Upon arrival, 𝒏𝒕𝒐 notices the massive crowds, and Cedric explains it's due to the fame of the lead soprano singer. To avoid a public scene, Cedric leads her through a secret entrance where the manager is waiting for them. They are escorted to a private balcony as the lights dim and the beautiful performance begins on the stage below. Watching the show, 𝒏𝒕𝒐 remembers her childhood dream of having the saint's power to heal the world's deep wounds. This very story inspired her to become a scholar, though now her heart is mainly focused on her revenge. The audience erupts in cheers as the show ends, and 𝒏𝒕𝒐 realizes she has not had this much fun. Cedric then invites her to dinner, gently leading her toward the most exclusive dining hall within the Grand Theater. 𝒏𝒕𝒐 is surprised to see the room is empty, realizing they are the only two guests in the restaurant. Cedric confesses he reserved the entire hall just for her, wanting their first formal date to be truly unforgettable. Now, you and I both know Cedric is a true romantic, and he even prepared a custom menu for her. He remembered her specific tastes from their past tea times, making sure every dish was exactly to her liking. Overwhelmed by his kindness, 𝒏𝒕𝒐 asks if there is anything she can possibly do to repay his grand gesture. Cedric coyly suggests he would love to hear her play the piano, pointing to the grand instrument nearby. He has wanted to hear her music since the Rose Festival, and 𝒏𝒕𝒐 gladly agrees to perform for him. She begins to play the same enchanting piece from her childhood music box, titled The Light of Day. Suddenly, the manager brings Cedric his violin, and he joins her melody, creating a beautiful harmony that fills the room. 𝒏𝒕𝒐 is thrilled by the accompaniment, and they finally leave the theater as the golden sun begins to set. They walk back to return their fine clothes, but 𝒏𝒕𝒐 feels a bit sad that their time is ending. Sensing her mood, Cedric asks if she has a little more time for him before they head home tonight. He tells her there is one last hidden treasure he wants to show her before the evening truly ends. Cedric takes her to a breathtaking cliffside on the capital's outskirts with a view that steals her breath away. He confesses this is his favorite secret spot, where he comes to find peace away from the royal court. 𝒏𝒕𝒐 wonders if it's okay for her to be there, but he insists he only wants to share it. So, what do you and I think? Is this the perfect ending to their first real date together? All right, you and I are diving back into a story where the romance is sweet, but the secrets are deadly. He tells her that since she read her mother's diary, he has noticed her drifting away in her own thoughts. He was worried she was bottling up her grief about how her family actually died in that terrible tragedy. He knows she is strong, but showing her weakness to him will never change the fact she is a warrior. So he reaches out, inviting her to finally let all that pain go after so many years of silence. Lua breaks down instantly, throwing herself into Sven's arms and sobbing as her heart finally shatters into pieces. She admits she hates everyone involved with 𝑷𝒓𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆, so much she wishes she could kill them herself. At the same time, she is devastated for her family, who did absolutely nothing to deserve such a cruel fate. Sven holds her tight, comforting her and promising he will stay right there until she feels better. Seriously, where can I find a guy like Sven? Night falls, and Lua apologizes for keeping him so late. Sven just smiles, telling her he is happy to stay longer and tries to cheer her up with a story. He confesses he cries when his brother scolds him, making Lua smile as she realizes how much she needs him. She starts to wonder if she actually loves Sven, seeing how he is always there to catch her when she falls. But she quickly hides those feelings, thinking her social status and their dangerous plan make a romance impossible. They finally say their goodbyes, and as Lua leaves, Sir Jasper suddenly reappears from the shadows to meet Sven. Sven asks if the mission was a success, and if the head of the operation is the man he suspected. Sir Jasper confirms everything, so Sven decides it is finally time for them to prepare their counterattack. Back in her room, Lua remembers her day with Sven, thanking him for showing her she can still feel alive. Exhausted, she falls into bed, determined to wake up tomorrow with the strength to finish what she started. Now pay attention here. Sir Jasper is currently reporting the dark results of his investigation back to Sven. Sven had him track the mad researcher mentioned in the diary, who has been seen talking to 𝑷𝒓𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆. This researcher is known as a complete madman and is currently hiding within the kingdom despite being banished years ago. Jasper suspects 𝑷𝒓𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 is the one arranging the hideouts to keep the scientist safe from the law. And just as Sven feared, he was the one who delivered the black rose that killed Lua's family. Jasper apologizes for missing the arrest, because by the time he arrived, the scientist's last location was already empty. It seems the bishop is keeping him on the move constantly to stay one step ahead of them. With this news, Sven suspects the bishop and the scientist are working on something far worse than the beast attacks. It looks like Lua's family was murdered just for seeing the bishop talking to that twisted researcher. Their deaths might have been a sick test run for a much larger and more terrifying plan. And the poor surviving Lua was likely only taken in by the temple to be used as a pawn. I know what you're thinking. This is getting dark, and Sven is furious they might have harmed Lua. He is terrified that the researcher would have done horrible experiments on her out of pure curiosity. They have to find the true plan and stop it, so Sven sends Jasper out to keep digging for clues. Changing the mood, Sven hands Jasper a gift that he and Lua picked out together for him. Jasper's eyes light up when he sees a pair of fine leather gloves inside the small box. Overwhelmed with emotion, Jasper says he will treasure them forever, but Sven tells him he better actually wear them. Finally, Jasper mentions he has new information regarding Arian and her suspicious involvement with the bishop's secret schemes. He relays the details to Sven, who realizes that something massive is about to happen very soon. Meanwhile, the mad scientist arrives at a new hideout provided by 𝑷𝒓𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆, where he is met by a priest. This arrogant priest considers himself the bishop's right hand and is bitter that the researcher gets so much respect. He is annoyed that the bishop trusts this weird man more than him and keeps the true plan a secret. Inside the safe house is a massive collection of strange ingredients used for creating deadly alchemical mixtures. The researcher claims these will help him finish a poison meant to bring the entire kingdom under their control. Elsewhere, Lua is waiting with a suitcase full of clothes that Diana lent her, waiting to return them. Trust me, you and I better keep watching, because Louis finally arrives, breathless and apologizing for the delay. Stick with me. We are diving into Lyra's journey as she hands Lucas a case and a small package. It is a gift for Lady Diana to thank her for everything. Meanwhile, Lucas is just staring at Lyra until he finally snaps out of it. He admits they haven't spoken since that intense mission at the Lestat estate. He was worried about her, but then he smiles. He notices that all her old self-doubts are gone. Lucas smiles, knowing all about her date with 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆. She hands him the gift for Diana, but suddenly the lady herself springs out from behind, startling them. Lucas is shocked because she was supposed to be with Prince Cedric today, but she just pouts at them. She wanted to see Lyra instead. Apparently, she is furious with Cedric because he skipped lunch while working again. After arguing with Lucas, Diana turns and beams at Lyra. She accepts the gift, saying it was not necessary. But she loves it anyway, a lovely green handkerchief. Lyra explains she bought it while out with 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆. Now pay attention here, because this is where the gossip starts getting really intense for everyone. She thinks they are having a secret love affair, which turns Lyra bright red, but Diana won't stop talking. She says they will be family once 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 marries Lyra. This reminds Diana to share a massive rumor. There is talk of a certain upcoming marriage that leaves Lyra speechless. It turns out Lord Gareth is engaged. He and Lady Alara are finally marrying, though Gareth does not seem very happy about the news at all. Gareth's father tells him about the marriage proposal from House Thorne, which he already accepted on his son's behalf. The plans are already set. Gareth is devastated, shouting at his father for not even consulting him first about it. His father simply claims he answered, because Gareth was too busy with his nightly duties as a palace knight. He insults his son, calling him an inefficient knight. Then he tells Gareth there is no reason to panic. He is marrying the fiancée he chose for himself. The wedding is in 6 weeks, and it will be grand. Both family names carry huge influence. His father then rolls away, leaving Gareth completely stunned and trapped by fate. Gossip about the wedding spreads like wildfire. As Lyra walks through the sanctuary, she hears the news everywhere. Other Saintess candidates are talking about it. Diana mentioned that Lady Alara was the one pushing for the marriage. Making Lucas suspect this is part of the bishop's plan. He remembers them saying that Gareth's good reputation will help them execute their dark schemes smoothly. Sir Julian approaches Lyra, surprising her. She notices he is wearing the gloves that she and 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 gave him. Julian thanks her formally. Lyra takes the chance to ask if 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 knows about Gareth and Alara's sudden engagement. Julian confirms that 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 knows, as he informed him the very second he found out about the wedding himself. Julian adds that 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 has a message for her. He wants her to stop using her dangerous powers for now. Lyra understands this is because of the research. She agrees to his request without any hesitation. Julian notices how much Lyra trusts 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆. She explains it is because 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 was the one who saved her. You and I saw that coming, right? Lyra really does trust him with her whole heart. Anyway, Julian leaves. Alara is back at her family estate planning the wedding. She's happy because her parents and staff spoil her. A maid brings in several wedding dress designs, but Alara does not like any of them at all. She throws the sketches at the poor maid and demands new designs that are actually worthy of her status. Alara feels untouchable. She is marrying the kingdom's hero, and the bishop's plan is moving forward perfectly for her. She is certain she will be the next Saintess soon. Then, a butler arrives with unexpected family news. He tells her that her sister, Lady Yvonne, might attend the wedding, which catches Alara by surprise. Lyra is having tea with 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 again. She tries her absolute hardest to brew it perfectly just to impress him. She shyly asks how it is. He teasingly replies that it is so delicious he wants it every day. What a tease. After her embarrassment fades, Lyra asks 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 about what he said regarding the Southern Isles. He mentioned that people from those islands are coming to Alara's wedding. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 explains there is a deeper reason. Alara's sister married into a powerful family in the Southern Isles and lives there now. This is a big deal. Lyra vaguely remembers Alara mentioning a sister, but nothing else. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 tells her how it all really happened. Her father sold Yvonne into a marriage to improve diplomatic ties. You and I must see what happens next. Stick with me. We are diving into a lord, who is the only noble to sacrifice his daughter for power. Since no one else dared send a child to the developing isles, rumors swirled that the two sisters were not raised equally. Now, Lady Yumiya might be a secret ally or just another viper, so everyone must stay focused. Remain on high alert. We see Yumiya boarding her ship to return home, but she does not. Look pleased to see her sister again. The gala for the visiting nobles from the south arrives just 1 week before Arian and Garrett's wedding. Guests are few, but Lua has been summoned as the reigning Rose Princess to perform traditional music for the elite guests at the palace. While rehearsing, Lua begins to question the hidden history between Lady Yumiya and Arian. During practice, she crosses paths with Lady Diana and Prince Sarid, deciding to seize the moment. She asks about Lady Yumiya, learning that Arian always overshadowed her sister in the social circles. Yumiya lived in the shadows, and her distant marriage to the Southern Isles was arranged in total secrecy. Prince Sarid grows suspicious of Lua's curiosity, demanding to know if she is plotting something with Sir Sven. This accusation rattles Lua, leaving her speechless, but Lady Diana steps in to save her from the prince. She scolds Sarid for his rudeness. Meanwhile, Arian corners Garrett in his study for wedding advice. Now, pay attention here. Garrett is clearly not happy about any of these wedding dress choices. He claims to be swamped with work, but then he pauses, deciding it is finally time to be honest. He suggests their union is far too rushed, pointing out that his father's blessing is still missing. He uses his duties as commander as an excuse, but Arian's expression shifts into something terrifying. She asks if he hates the idea of marrying her. Startled, he backs away, stammering that he does not. She takes his hesitation as a yes, completely ignoring every single concern he just brought up. Back at the temple, a maid breaks the news to Mary about Garrett's fast-approaching wedding. Mary is stunned by the sudden announcement, and it forces her to reconsider her entire plan. She wonders if she should reveal who really saved him, fearing he will marry a total lie. The Southern fleet finally docks. Waiting at the port are Prince Sarid, Lady Diana, Garrett, and Arian. Lua, in her rose princess gown, notices Garrett's obvious discomfort beside his bride and wonders why. You and I both see the tension, but a smiling man leads the visitors, Yumiya's husband. After the introductions, Yumiya steps forward. Arian immediately rushes to her side, playing the doting sister. She puts on a show, telling everyone how overjoyed she is to finally be reunited. Yumiya smiles back, promising to visit the family home during her short stay in the kingdom. Prince Sarid interrupts, announcing that their royal suites are ready for them to rest after the voyage. A grand banquet is planned for later. Yumiya follows him, walking past Lua without a single word. In private, Yumiya touches a visible scar on her arm. Her husband enters the room. He calls her beautiful and expresses his pride, but she shyly pulls away from his praise. She thanks him for his kindness, calling herself a useless daughter cursed with a hideous scar. He comforts her, saying the Isles never shame someone for their scars. She seems slightly cheered up. He asks how she feels about seeing Arian, sensing a dark history lingering between the two sisters. Yumiya claims she is fine as long as he is near, but she has a secret purpose and secret plans. She will not let Arian win this time. Night falls, and it is finally time for the banquet. Lua's performance is next. Before sitting at the piano, she spots Sven smiling at her from the crowd. Her nerves vanish. Her music moves every soul in the room, except for Prince Sarid and certainly Arian. Well, that is all for now. There are no more chapters available just yet. But if you are just like me, and totally hooked on Lua's path of cold revenge, stay tuned for future updates. If you enjoyed this, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps us bring you stories. Tell us in the comments what you think happens next. You and I will wait for the next update together.